I've got up at stupid o'clock this morning and come to a beach in the northeast corner of the Isle of Man. And my objective today is to secure a sunrise shot which I first tried to capture 18 months ago, and I failed on that occasion, and it's been on my mind ever since. Now in this location you can only capture this image on a few days each year, so I believe today we're on course for the correct conditions. And if I spin you around this way, and you can see that sky behind me is looking rather tasty at the moment. I think we're on course for a bit of an epic sunrise here. So you can see behind me we've got this nice sweeping bay here, but here we've got this nice headland, and if you look right at the end of the headland, just there's a tiny little island. Well, don't even know if you can call it an island, it's that small, but a tiny bit of rock that sits just off the end of the main headland there. And this morning, if I've done my calculations correctly, which is a big if, I believe the sun is going to rise right in between that little island and the main headland. And this only occurs a few days a year, and you can see it from this vantage point here right at the end of the beach. So I'm going to have a little wander around this area, try and lock down a composition ready for the sunrise, which is going to be in about 25 minutes. The sky is absolutely kicking off behind me. It's glorious, but it's all unfolding a lot quicker than I anticipated, so I'm not going to have very much time here at all. In this current location, I'm kind of devoid of interesting foregrounds. It's like the tide is too far out. I was anticipating nice rocks and stuff that I could base my foreground compositions on, but they're just not here. But what I do have is this seaweed down and along this area here, and I'm going to see if I can work that into my foreground. But I'm going to have to get a move on, because a sky like that is not going to linger and not going to give me very much time at all. Filming sunrises and sunsets is really quite difficult, because if I expose for the sky, you're not going to see me, and if I expose for me, you're not going to see the sky. So I'll just prioritise me for the time being. It's been an absolutely stunning sunrise so far, and the sun hasn't even arrived over the horizon. It's just been incredible. I'm blown away by the sky. It's just been something special. In terms of the composition I've gone for, I'm not entirely sure it's the best on offer, but I'm really devoid of interesting foreground subjects here. There's really not many, and I'm kind of left with the seaweed, really. There's not many rocks on this beach. Any rocks that there are here are just coated in this thick seaweed anyways. It's like the better rocks are actually further up the shore, but I can't complain too much. I've just got to work with what I'm given, and a sky like that is just superb. I think it will probably lift any foreground subject. The real emphasis is always going to be on the sky in these kind of shots, so I'm not particularly too worried. In terms of settings for my shot, I have a circular polariser on the front to take the glare off the rocks and off the water surface as well, and to deepen that contrast and punch out the colours a little bit more. I've got a 2-stop hard edge graduated filter to bring the sky down and punch out those oranges in those beautiful high level clouds. And in terms of settings, I'm not entirely sure exactly what my final settings are going to be, but I believe, let me just check momentarily, we're probably looking at about f11, ISO 64 at about half a second at about 35mm, and I think my final image will be in that sort of region. If you look behind me, you can see the sun rising now. And if you're very eagle-eyed, you'll notice it's not actually rising in between the rocks like I forecast. So I got that one completely and utterly wrong. I think it's because I was anticipating shooting a little bit further up the shore. The tide's a little bit further out than I anticipated. But in all honesty, it's nothing special. It is not what I anticipated it being. So I'm not even going to take a picture of that sunrise. The actual clouds prior to sunrise were a million times better. And not what I planned at all, but yeah, I managed to secure something. Quite weird when you have a shot on your mind for a year and a half and it doesn't turn out exactly how you planned it, and something totally unexpected, a curveball, just totally and utterly blows it out the water. If anything, today shows the importance of always going out. No matter what you think the conditions are going to be, head out, because you'll be surprised more often than not. When I first left the house this morning and I looked towards the horizon where the sun was going to rise from, there was a thick blanket of cloud there, and the thought did run through my mind, is it even worth bothering here? Are we going to get any kind of sunrise? And I actually came into this morning's shoot treating this like a scout. I was going to come down, have a look at the beach, get a feel for the area, and then come back tomorrow or the day after and try and lock down the shot. But it really didn't turn out that way at all. It just shows you the importance of always going out there. If I turned round when I saw those clouds and headed home, I would never have saw that sunrise, and that would have been a real shame. That beautiful sunrise wasn't entirely unexpected. I looked at the weather forecast yesterday and it gave me the telltale signs for potential for good sunrises. What it showed me was that today, this morning, there was going to be no low-level and mid-level cloud at all, but we would have a very dense layer of high cloud. Now, high cloud tends to lend itself fantastically to sunrises and sunsets because it captures those rays and reflects them beautifully. As you saw this morning, the actual best conditions were about 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the actual sun rose above the horizon, and that's because those high clouds captured that light from below the horizon level and just lighted up the sky beautifully. I've used a degree of weather forecast apps over the year and services, and I've come to the conclusion the best one is actually Clear Outside. It's more often than not very accurate, and again this morning it's been absolutely spot on with the weather forecast. Time to head home for some breakfast. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. It was really not what I expected. There was a few moments this morning where I thought there was going to be no video, but it just goes to show you expect the unexpected with landscape photography. And I hope it hammers home one of the key points I'm trying to make. You got to be in it to win it. You can't expect to get the best images if you sit on your couch at home. You've got to get out the door and you've got to put yourself in nature and in the environment in order to increase your chances of getting the image. Quite often with landscape photography, it's not the gear or the settings that ultimately makes the difference. It's the mindset. If you've got a notion or a desire to go out and take landscape photography images, stay true to them, follow that, and don't divert from it. Any sort of notions and negative thoughts in your mind trying to make excuses and trying to prevent you from going out should be ignored. it's easy to make excuses like the weather isn't very good, or I'm probably not going to get the right shot, I'm not going to get lucky, I'd rather stay in and just mindlessly scroll through Facebook for hours. It's really easy to procrastinate, but ultimately, drag yourself out. It would have been very easy for me to stay in bed this morning, but I came out and I got lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, and that is all that made the difference. It was nothing to do with the gear, nothing to do with my settings or my knowledge. It was all about the mindset to come out and just give it a good old-fashioned try. Thanks very much for watching today. If you've got any thoughts on the image that I took or what I've talked about in today's video, like high clouds and landscape photography mindsets, drop them below in the comments. And if you haven't yet subscribed and you'd like to see more videos of me stood on beaches pointing at things, by all means subscribe. And I'll see you again very soon for more landscape photography. Goodbye.